Good morning, folks. Sorry, trying to find the right right volume control. I wasn't looking at the wrong screen. Welcome to today's webinar, which is self-serve analysis straight on Motherduck. My name is Tom. For anyone that doesn't know me, I have been stewarding Saiku on and off over the past too many years now, 20-ish years. It started back in the day when we were working with Pentaho and wanted to be able to build something that was better than JPivot. It has, of course, evolved an awful lot since then to what you see, or what you're going to see today, which is Saiku, Saiku Cloud, and how we get data from that environment into an analysis tool that's both good for interactive analysis as a standalone product, but also as a semantic layer that will help drive the AI-driven workloads and workflows that you expect to see today. So I'm going to move on, and we will move to the next slide. So most teams don't have a data problem, they have an access problem. It's not because, you know, we struggle with data loads, with data volume, but what we do struggle with as an organization, or as organizations and data practitioners, is making that data accessible to the users so that they can understand what's going on inside of their data sets and the stuff they're interested in. They don't care about data warehouses. They don't care about the tool that really allows you to access it. They care about the data and the data validity that goes with it. So, you know, most teams don't have a data problem. We capture data all over the place. If you're working in sales, then you're bringing in, CRM data, you're bringing in sales data, you're trying to tie that all together to create a picture. If you work in the government, you're bringing in general population information. You're trying to understand patterns and things that go on inside of the people that live inside of your country, for example. But what that involves is then creating a methodology and understanding, a metadata that allows for coherent querying of that data from one place, so that you don't have data duplication all over the place, and you don't have different ways of being able to measure the same thing across different parts of your organization. So this is where the semantic layer that underpins Saiku comes into play. We allow for coherent, like metric-driven analysis without having to understand how to tie those different numbers together. Obviously, as a data organizer, as a DBA, or as a business intelligence operative, you do have to understand that. But from a data usage perspective, that becomes less of a problem. So what does Saiku offer? It offers, SQL analysis, or the ability to run over SQL engines, spreadsheets and pivot tables so that you can interact directly with this stuff inside of Excel, and also the ability to output to dashboards and other interactive analysis that allows for both interactive reports in a web-based environment, and also the output of dashboards that allow you to then go and demonstrate this stuff or expose these things to other people inside the organization that might need to understand what's going on. So how do you get this without self-serve SQL? Now, Saiku isn't a BI tool. It's a semantic model platform that allows you to layer your stuff over, in this case, Motherduck. It connects to a lot of different stuff using JDBC, but it's build once, used anywhere. Now, we've extended some of this stuff with Saiku Cloud, and this allows for us to be able to provide a supported environment. Excuse me, whilst the cat walks across the desk. Be able to build a supported environment that allows for AI interactions, AI generation of cubes and the layers and the information. It can obviously add value to your organization whilst not taking away the human aspect of having to be able to manage and manipulate these platforms. As I said, define once, agree everywhere. So every metric lives in one place. Profit means the same thing across your organization. It's not defined by different groups depending on whether you work in accounts or sales to make it work better for whatever metric you're trying to measure. We also deal, of course, with data security. These days, there is a huge amount of data inside of these environments. That's why we're looking at Motherduck. It allows us to be able to store the data in a way that is, reasonably agnostic to the volume of data that you need to be able to capture. But of course, you may not want to make all of that data available to everybody in your organization. You may want to be able to split up, role-based access so that different sales teams can't peek at other sales teams' numbers, or you've got an HR cube that is available to the HR people, but not available to anyone else, but is leveraging the data that's in the warehouse or in your Motherduck instance to be able to visualize that data. So this allows us to be able to really enrich the interactions that you have on your data sets, but not only for yourself, also for Claude desktop users, Codex users, Claude Code users, or integrate that into an AI process that allows for API-based interactions or MCP-based interactions on that data that still adheres to that same role-based access and data security that's defined for your users. We do exactly the same with the AI. So, it allows us to answer a number of questions. Sales and revenue, where's the growth coming from? Where's it slipping? Finance, budget versus actual, customers, segments, top accounts, all that type of stuff. It's easier done when you've got a central platform to be able to do that and a common understanding as to what the metrics are made up of. And that's why, layers like Saiku really add value to that. So there's enough of me talking. We're going to whiz on into a live demo, because I know this is why everyone has come. And so we're going to dig into how we do analysis with Motherduck, how we connect to Motherduck, and how Saiku and Saiku Cloud allows you to expand upon what's gone before to allow for more interactive analysis. So let me change tabs so you're not just looking at a slideshow for the rest of today. We're going to do some analysis on a data set called GDELT. And GDELT, for those of you who don't know, is a platform that allows for the analysis of global events. It's a global event data set, and it is huge. So I haven't brought it all in, but I have brought some of it in to sort of explain what we're going to do. So I've got a ETL here that allows for understanding of what's going on inside of my data warehouse. So inside of Motherduck, we've got a number of dimensions. We've got a quad class, an event route, an actor type, and so on and so on, some country mapping stuff. Now, of course, you would do this, in a more segmented way, potentially in the future, but for demo purposes, this serves a purpose. We then have a date dimension that extracts, time from timestamps, all that type of thing. And then we have events fact table and a mentions fact table. So standard star schema stuff, if anyone understands, Kimball methodology, things that haven't changed a lot over the years. This adheres to that. And inside of that, we've got 63 million records, pretty much. And so if we look at this inside of Motherduck, for anyone who doesn't know what Motherduck is a great platform from the creators of DuckDB. They realized that, on top of being able to analyze stuff locally, you might also want a hosted service. And so Motherduck is their version of a hosted DuckDB, and it works great. And so you end up with this sort of notebook environment and a hugely scalable database underneath. So, 60 odd million records might seem like a lot, but in reality, you can run this on your laptop. DuckDB allows for that type of scale. You need to get a lot bigger to start stressing this one out properly, but this allows us to sort of demonstrate what would happen inside of a scalable environment. So if I look at GDELT events for a split second, you can see there's a whole bunch of columns in there down the left sidebar here. And so inside of this is just global event data that allows for us to be able to understand what's going on. And then, as I said, I've distilled that down into like fact-based stuff for star schema analysis. And so that's where we've started. And then we're going to have a look at how we're going to actually integrate that into Saiku Cloud. So what I'm going to show you here is our hosted version. This is still in a private beta. If you would like access to it, please let me know, and we will happily provide access for people to be able to kick the tires and let us know what's going on. But everything I'm going to show you from a Saiku analysis perspective is in the open source version. And so it's free to download. You can go to GitHub, spick your data, and get the Docker container with the latest release, or you can go and just download the source and start hacking around, because, you know, that's the beauty of open source. For people that haven't gone to the website, please go and check out saiku.bi, where we have all our offerings, services, and all that type of stuff. So if I click back here, this is the landing page to Saiku Cloud. And so what we try and allow for people to be able to do is make it super easy for them to be able to manage their cubes and their interactions with their data via a hosted Saiku service. And so users come along and they will be able to sign up and log in to an environment. In that environment, you will then have a number of cubes, a number of schemas, and a number of connections to different databases. So if I open up this one here, you can see down below there are a number of existing databases, data sources that are available to me. And then at the top, I can also add new ones. And so on top of Motherduck, we support connections to Postgres, Snowflake, Google BigQuery, ClickHouse, and MySQL and MariaDB. At the moment, there are going to be more coming, but that's sort of where we start. Equally, if users want to be able to upload files to the data warehouse, they can do so. You can upload CSVs, Parquets, all that type of stuff, and we will host them for you. But you know, essentially, we're expecting people to want to be able to connect to their own warehouses, and this obviously allows you to do it. So then moving down to the actual data connection itself, it is actually, because I didn't name it, this one down the bottom, but if I click design a cube, what this then ends up happening is we have an LLM that then goes and creates a inference from the schema and the tables that are inside your warehouse. Now, there's two different ways of doing this. You can keep it super simple, like this one, where it goes and takes effectively a guess over some of the tables that are in the warehouse. And whilst it's reading that, it's looking at the various tables, the connectivity between the tables, the naming conventions that go on, because to underpin any Saiku analysis, you need to have a cube. The cube needs to be in existence so that you can then go and interact with the data source itself. So that is ongoing, and it can take, you know, a few minutes as it goes through the process, because in doing so, depending on the scale of data, the data volumes itself, and the amount of tables, it will, you know, take some time to be able to go and do a proper analysis. So what we're going to do is click on edit here. And so this is one that we're going to have a look at for the demo itself. So this one goes over the top of the information that we were looking at. And you can see this is obviously the XML from a Mondrian cube. We'll have a look at the, can't go that way, but you know, this allows us to be able to understand what's going on from a model perspective. So you end up with a number of tables, and the dimension tables and the fact tables. Those dimensions then have a number of different attributes, keys, names, columns, all that type of stuff that live below it. And so inside of those dimensions, you can have a number of different levels. You know, for example, if it's a date dimension, you've got years, quarters, months, potentially days, depending on the granularity of your data. If it's customer information, it might be what country they're in, what city they reside in, that type of level. It very much depends on the data that you're dealing with. And then down here at the bottom, you then end up with measures. And so in this case, we are measuring events. So we've got event count, articles, mentions, that type of thing. And they become ingrained in these measure groups that then allow us to be able to combine fact table information and the measures themselves. We shall take a quick look to see if it's finished doing it. Yeah, it's timed out, but I will continue anyway so that we don't sit around waiting for the model to appear. So basically you would log in, you would create the model, and again, you can either do this programmatically using AI and the model builder, or you can come in and then build this using just straight up XML or YAML, depending on your skill level and comfort in designing and building these things. So whilst that goes on, whilst that goes on, I will click through and then also hit the Analyze button. Inside of the Analyze screen, you basically end up with a number of different schema that are available to you inside of the environment. And so here you can see we've got different schemas. That's annoying. I am talking to myself. Let's continue onwards. Anyway, so inside of the analysis environment, you can then open up Saiku. Saiku allows you to then infer information from this cube. And so inside of here, we've got this GDELT dataset. The GDELT dataset is global events. And so I've got a few examples here that I've saved from earlier. And so if I go into like top news sources, so this is going to go away. It's going to go and run a query on top of the GDELT dataset. And it's going to look at mentions versus like average coverage tone. So like, you know, is the information inside of Yahoo, how much of it, and then also the tone. Obviously, the negative numbers, the negative, the more negative the tone of that information is. And so in doing so, when we have all that together, we can then look at, you know, if we want to be able to then drive a query. So if I come in here, I can look at event count. I can drop that because that's what I'm interested in. And also, I don't know, mentions. And then you have to be able to then populate the sort of rows and the columns. So I'm going to look at, get that one right. I'm going to drop years onto rows, and you can see that, you know, there's a bit of data from 2015, but then 2024 and 2025 has like legitimate GDELT data in. So for 2025, which is the main data set I loaded up, it's got 23 million events and 107,000 like mentions of different points of data. So then you might say, okay, well, actually, how does that split out by quarter or by month? So let me stick quarter in and we'll expand this further. So quarter then allows us to see, a drill down version of that. So we can see inside of 2023, Q1 was far busier than Q2, Q3. And then as I do one more level, the month, you can then obviously see it broken out. Now, of course, it's quite useful to be able to visualize this stuff as well. So to be able to visualize this, I will then click on the chart. Inside of the chart, you then have a number of different chart options. So if I click on, you can't see it, there we go. I can then say, okay, well, I'm more interested in seeing a stack bar chart, for example, or I want to be able to understand what this looks like by a pie chart. Now, of course, event count by mentions doesn't make much sense, but then if I flip the axis and rendered this differently, that one also doesn't make much sense. But it's what happens when you do live. You need to be able to like chop it up by two different sources. So if I stick like source name on the rows now, let's try that one again. Not my lucky day. Anyway, so you'll be able to like chop that up in multiple ways to be able to sort of demonstrate, how different charts work in different ways. Of course, what then also is useful from a analysis perspective is be able to then dashboard this stuff. So if I click on dashboards and then I click on one that I saved earlier, what this is going to do is it's going to go and query Motherduck. It's going to return all the events, it's going to return all the articles, and this allows me to see events over a period of time and be able to demonstrate this in a graphical manner. And so these dashboards are configurable. You can make stuff bigger, you can make stuff smaller, you can then publish them so that people can see things. You can also then link filters together so that if you want to be able to have like all widgets in here constrained by the same timestamp, for example, then this would allow you to do it. And so this way is really a good way of being able to demonstrate some of the capabilities of connecting the Saiku platform to Motherduck so that you can do live analytics. And users can come in here, and like I said earlier, it's connected to the it's connected to the role-based security. So depending on who you are, you could come in, log in, look at the same dashboard, but depending on what you have access to, it will tell you different numbers, it'll tell you different things, or it'll tell you nothing because you have no access to that data. But that's where the thing ends up being. So this really gives users the ability to be able to navigate through this in a very defined manner. What you also, of course, want to be able to do is analyze information using LLMs these days. And so Saiku Cloud also offers LLM access. And so you can come in here, you can generate a token, and then you can pass that to Claude Code, Claude Desktop, Claude Code, Cursor, VS Code, whatever, or build out your own interface. And that will allow you to then add that data inference to the platform that you're trying to build. And so, in doing this, this allows you to then extend the capabilities of the Saiku platform to really drive analytics in different applications in a much more programmatic manner than has been available before. So, having said all that and gone through that, this is all, like I said, live on Motherduck. What we're going to do is we're going to move the demo data from here into demo.saiku.bi. Over there at the moment, if you go and log into the demo, you'll see Food Mart. You can go and play with that. But we will make sure that the demo data is available for you to be able to play with, and also ways to be able to rebuild this demonstration so you can see the performance of Saiku over Motherduck. Of course, what the benefits really are from something like Saiku is under the hood, it is Motherduck and Databricks and whatever still charge you on a compute basis. And so if there is a caching layer that sits in between, this really allows you to be able to drive down the cost, both from a management perspective, but also from a performance perspective and a compute payment perspective. Because if you're paid per query, if you pay per query or for the compute that underpins a query, you don't want the same people, well, you don't want different people running the same query multiple times to be able to like give you the answer. And so platforms like Saiku allow for that to be able to cache the information so that it returns both quickly and also doesn't have to hit the database, which reduces the cost of ownership. As you can see, you know, the cache is something that has always been like key to the way that Mondrian works and the way that we are able to expose these types of things. We try and make it more intelligent. We have made a bunch of changes to the Mondrian engine itself, but the actual cache is obviously valuable because you don't, if you've got a huge data set or a number of different joins, you don't want that compute to be hitting the being spun up for every single query when people are just looking at the same dashboard to get their latest sales figures, for example. So Saiku Cloud, how much does it cost? Like I said, it's currently in private beta, but if you want to have a play around with it, please feel free to reach out and we will happily onboard you so that you can kick the tires and let us know what works and what doesn't. It's a lot of stuff's going to change over the course of the coming months and weeks. But for now, the starter pack is $99 a month. You're on a shared VM. You can bring your own database connections, obviously, or upload up to 5 gigs of Parquet files, CSV files, whatever you want to be able to analyze. You get a shared compute pool with other people and you get email support. From $499 a month, you get always on, you get single sign-on so that you can embed this better into your organization. You get your own dedicated like compute inference, of course, along with auditability, PII redaction, and other like useful things that work well for modern workplace, but also for AI-generated workloads these days. For $1,500 a month, you get better scale depending on your like need for uptime, audit retention, more support, that type of stuff. Obviously, people paying for Saiku Cloud also then that work goes back into improving the Saiku open source package and really allows us to be able to drive that that development. So thank you very much for watching this video. Hopefully you found some of it interesting. Please go to demo.saiku.bi and give things a try. If you would like I said, to be able to try Saiku Cloud, please let me know. And we will be back soon with a